Cock 45 here, your internet shooting companion, coming to you from the beautiful hills of Middle Tennessee. Yes, Middle Tennessee, Tennessee in general, the home of Alvin York, Davy Crockett. Oh man, everybody. Loretta Lynn lives here. Did you know that? Yeah, right down the road a ways. Got my Schofield today, so I'm glad you're here. I've been shooting it a little bit, and I'm going to shoot it some more. I got some empties in it. Can I dump them out? Yeah. There we go. Thought I broke my gun, didn't you? You folks that don't know what a Smith & Wesson looks like, an old Smith & Wesson, a breakdown, a number 3, or a Schofield, which is essentially the same thing, right? So glad to have you here. Hopefully the gun will work this week, and I'll shoot a little bit. I checked on the hauls. I was able, after I turned the camera off, messed with it, and was able to get the base pin out pretty easily and take the cylinder out. I'm not sure. I think it's something with the recoil shield, and I just really haven't had time to look at it this week. But I'm going to look at it and see if it's something. It seems a little rough back there, like on the recoil shield. Well, I've got this one open. You can see it pretty clearly. Maybe that's the recoil shield back there, and there's usually one piece of it. I'm not sure this has a separate piece, but a separate piece right where the cartridge head presses against, that often is actually a piece of metal embedded in the back plate, the recoil shield, that's actually separate. And I know in Colts it's pretty much that way. I had one years ago, first one I ever had, I guess, Colt single action in about the early 70s, mid 70s, and it had a problem like that. The same thing, the cases would hang up on it. It started coming out or got recessed or something too much. Kind of weird, you know. So that feels like it could be what it is. I don't know. But anyway, got my Schofield out today. I was in the mood to just shoot it some. And I don't know if you've seen it lately, you know. So I'm going to load it up. And so I tend to load 5 even when I'm on the range, as you know, just to be safe. All right. Let's see if I can hit anything. All right. About a bowling pin. How about a left-handed plate? All right. It's a big old gun. Yeah, feels good though. I missed. Okay. I missed. I'm gonna cry. I didn't mean to. It was an accident. Now these are, there's something about a top break. You know, it's just so cool. I don't know what it is. I guess because it's a little rare. I mean, most revolvers are not top breaks. And I don't know, it's just that big old hinge. The whole thing comes open. It's just kind of a cool factor. It really is. The grip doesn't feel as good to me as a Colt does. The balance of the firearm doesn't feel as good as a Colt single action Army. But the firearm is really cool. It's a little bit overrated. I mean, in some ways, people think of these, oh man, why, I can't believe everybody didn't have one of those. You're so much quicker to load and unload and all that. And if you know what you're doing with the Colt single action, there's not a ton of difference. There's a difference, but it's not as dramatic as you might think. But there is a difference, you know, and that's one reason the cavalry, you know, adopted these back in '75. That's what the Schofield was designed. Was it Major or Colonel Schofield changed the top latch so you could adjust it with one hand, pull on this, because the old Smith number 3, the latch was, it took 2 hands to kind of break it open really. And redesigned it for cavalry. You're on horseback, you just pull that back on your leg and open it up, you know, dump them out and then reload it. So it's pretty handy for cavalry. You know, cavalry, typically, they want a shorter fire rifle. If they're carrying a rifle, it's usually a carbine, isn't it, some sort. A shorter rifle and a handy firearm, as handy as it can be. So, and handguns were always popular, you know, with the cavalry for that reason. When you go back to the percussion revolvers, they might have 4 or 5 or 6 of them stuck in their belt, you know, loaded, because, you know, when on horseback, you know, reloading and all that, need I tell you, is a bit of a problem. And plus it's a harem scarum kind of thing. You imagine being in a scuffle with the enemy, whoever that is, and you're on horseback, you're riding around, and you've got a sword, of course, a saber, and and some of it's close range, a lot of it's close range, and they're trying to kill you from close range. You're trying to kill them before they kill you, and all that kind of thing. It's yeah, quite an endeavor, right? So having several handguns loaded that you could shoot well and being able to reload them fairly quickly would be handy, wouldn't it? So what we're going to talk about today, I am going to shoot a little more since I can. How's that? Let me put some more of this Federal. I'll shoot some jacketed rounds maybe this time. 45 Colt. This is chambered 45 Colt, which the Schofield was never chambered in. The originals, it was the Schofield, 45 Schofield, a short round. It was a shorter, as I've talked about in videos. It was, and that's part of the reason for its demise. Yeah, I forgot what the story on that. They were supposed to actually, the Army military, I think, was expecting Smith to chamber it in a 45 Colt, like the Colts. And I don't know what all the reasons were for not wanting to do it. Didn't want Colt, or whatever. But so they brought out this new shorter cartridge, the gun and everything made it work better. Maybe they thought it wouldn't handle a 45 Colt, perhaps at the time. Pretty hot round. And so it was a shorter cartridge. And so even though the military bought a lot of them, adopted it, well, then you've got them, all over the country, the cavalry especially, and so they're having to ship two different sorts of ammo, right? The 45, and that's where the 45 Colt got to be called the long Colt. I believe that's where that stems from, because people will correct you if you call it a 45 long Colt. They'll say, "Oh, you dummy! It's just 45 Colt," and they're correct, but a lot of people call it that, and it's pretty good justification why that came about, because the 45 Schofield was the same cartridge except shorter. All right, so I can imagine back in the 1870s that became pretty important to designate whether you wanted 45 Colt or 45 Schofield. They're different. Why? Because if you had a cavalry unit that was waiting for ammo desperately, and you got shipped a bunch of 45 long Colt, 45 Colt, guess what? You didn't have any ammo because they wouldn't go, they wouldn't chamber. It'd be like trying to chamber a 357 Magnum round in a 38 Special, or a 44 Magnum round in a 44 Special. They just wouldn't fit, they'd stop, all right? So they had to be careful about that, and that's one thing that killed it. I know several times they got the wrong ammo shipped out in the middle of nowhere. They were in desperate need of ammo, and it was the wrong ammo, and that kind of thing. So, hence the demise of the Smith & Wesson or the Schofield as an adopted firearm, and there were other reasons. All right, see if we can make this thing work. You may throw one at the gong. Let's do it. That is a sweet sound. I love it when you're shooting these older cartridges, 45 Colt, whatever. They're not magnums, and so it takes a little bit to get there. So you don't know whether you hit it or not. You have to listen for it, right? Like shooting an arrow and seeing where it is. Let's kill a hog. Got him. Got him. How about a plate? How about a propane tank? Oh, how about nothing? How about let's be empty? Yeah, the old Schofield. Pretty cool. I've had this a good while. And I've never had any trouble with it, I have to say. It's a Cimarron, it's made by, I guess, Uberti, and they did a good job on them. I had one of these a long time ago, a different one. My very first cowboy match I went to in '97. I had one of these. It was a Navy Arms, I think, or something, and it didn't seem quite the quality. I don't know. It worked okay. And not sure which Italian company made it. And I had a really old Colt, single action, really rough one. And but I loved it. It was my first cowboy match. I did that for 10 years, and had a lot of fun with it. A lot of fun. I've done a lot of competition, as I've talked about. That cowboy action, USPSA, IDPA, the Glock Sports Shooting Foundation matches. I shot those several times. And you know the story where I finally won a gun. I won a subcompact finally after about 3 years trying, 3 year at the annual match. And I didn't go to matches that often. I'd go to like one a year up in Lexington, and finally won and took as a prize a 10 millimeter I'd never had before. So I took a 10 millimeter Glock as my prize, the Glock 29 I have. In fact, we got that out recently. You'll be seeing it. Hey, man, that thing's been tucked away in the safe for about 10 years. I just forget about it, and it hurts me. No, it does kick a little bit, but actually I've enjoyed shooting it lately. It's kind of neat. I'm kind of discovering it, I have to say. So anyway, nothing like a Schofield on a pretty day, spring day, you know, and they're just they're really classy. They really are. I like it a lot. I wouldn't give up any of my Colts over it probably, although I'd like to always have one. So cool. I wouldn't mind having an original sometime. That's something I've never invested in. You know, I have some nice old Colts, but the problem is the ammo. Kind of, you get these early Smith & Wessons are neat, and that might be my next project as far as you know, putting a fair amount of money into a firearm if I do it again. Is an old Smith & Wesson. It's in, you know, good shape but shootable. I want to shoot them, you know me. Like in a 44 American, 44 Smith & Wesson, 44, even a 45 Schofield. You know, there's companies I think that load it black powder. You know, I don't think I want to get back into loading black powder cartridges again. But as long as I get some ammo for it, I can shoot a box or two a year. Buffalo Arms probably, I think they load all those old cartridges for these things. So I just don't know as much about them, you know, checking the condition and all that. But anyway, they're neat. They really are. And you do realize, according to, I think, and we talked about that in a video recently, you'll see with the bunt line, that Wyatt Earp supposedly carried a bunt line. That's myth, joke, mostly. The OK Corral shootout, he really had a Smith & Wesson. Yeah, according to him, according to eyewitnesses, I think it was John Clum, the owner of the Epitaph, you know, in the newspaper in Tombstone, had presented him a Smith & Wesson #3. It wasn't a Schofield, I don't think, but same gun essentially. And 44 American, I think it was chambered in, and that's supposed to be what he used in the OK Corral shootout. Okay, I mean that. I think most researchers have concluded that there's enough evidence that that's what he used. Like we could ever know 100% sure, of course. He definitely didn't have a bunt line. He probably never carried a bunt line in his life. Most awkward revolver on the planet, which is why I don't own one. I mean, it's interesting, but a lot of myths around that I talk about in a recent video we did. You'll be seeing it, because you're going to watch every video, right? Yeah. Speaking of that, well, you know, we're winding down April, in about 4 days. So we're going to quit making videos altogether. This has been too much for me, and it's time to retire. I finally decided it's just way too much work. And you know that's a joke, don't you? No, it's not work. I enjoy doing this. But we can't keep up this kind of posting schedule, right? And you notice, you have to admit, we didn't say, hey, we're so great and we love you all so much, we're going to post every day, and then come out and just yak at you every day in a video and do a different rant every day or something, you know, or shoot the same gun every day. No, we've posted real videos from, you know, from what we normally do, right? So that's what we wanted to do. It was a joke about it, but it was kind of our gift to you. Again, not to sound altruistic. Everybody's holed up, and John and I talked about, you know, we've got some videos in the bank, and we got a bunch of ideas, a bunch of guns. I've got a long list of videos to do, but the weather's nice. I can't think of anything that's going to hold us up, really. unless we both get the virus or something. We're on a ventilator. But so let's just do it. You know, we should be able to do it. So that's just kind of what that was, and it's been kind of fun. You know, a lot busier and a lot of you know, preparing videos, rendering, getting them ready, and you know, finding thumbnails, and you know, posting and making. You know, you got to keep up with it. You all that do this know what I'm talking about. Imagine doing a regular video that you normally do if you do videos, you know, every day, and have them ready, rendered, and you know, ready to post. So anyway, that's, yeah, can't do that after April, but you know, it's not a dramatic difference. We post 3 or 4 every week. Okay, so just make sure you're coming back and watching the videos. Come on. I know a few of them didn't get as many views. I knew that would happen because you're posting every day. So it would not even be a business decision to post every day, even if you could, right? It waters down things a little bit, but I knew you were home and everything, so you watch most of them. So, and some of them, the ones that get flagged for limited or no ads, which is a lot of them, they tend not to get as many views. They get into the algorithm in a different way or something. You know, YouTube's not making any money out of them, so you know, they don't recommend them, I guess. And so, unless you're a loyal subscriber, you know, you're not even coming back and knowing we posted a video. So the people who just kind of, they see oh, there's a Hickok video, I kind of like his videos, I'll watch that. They're just watching them randomly because they're recommended. Then we miss all those people, I guess, and we miss a lot of those people anyway, right? But anyway, we'll be still posting. I think Thursday is what, the 30th, and you know, we'll probably post Friday or Saturday, and then the Sunday shoot around, and you know, next week Monday or Tuesday. You know, we always post a Tuesday, so it's not like we're going away. So that's the only thing I ask for in return, is try to get back, you know, watch videos. Yeah, we'll keep doing these as long as you're watching. How's that? That's a pretty good deal. But we just couldn't do them every day for very long. The one thing that I will never do, I promise, we will never want to have to struggle for content. Now, I've got a long list of things to do, we want to do, we've got ideas and all this. That's not a problem on our posting schedule, but every single day, it could be that in a few months or something, we find ourselves, oh man, what are we going to do now? What are we going to do? Well, we do this gun. You know, I mean, that almost wouldn't happen if we had time. There's so many guns we haven't done, so many new guns coming out and all that sort of thing. But it'd be more of a struggle for content. Never, ever want to do that. I see enough of that around. You know, I'd have to resort to drama, right? You know, nothing to do. Oh, I don't have anything useful to do. Anything of any real substance like we do, right? So what would be dramatic? What could we do? I could do something crazy, shoot an elephant in the front yard. I could find somebody to bash, start some YouTube drama or something to get attention, get clicks, you know. So you're never going to see that here, okay? And so anyway, we'll still be posting, you know, 3 or 4 a week. All right, so check them out. Check them out. What else was I going to talk about? John still doesn't have a comedy schedule. Funny. You know, we don't know. The world's maybe going to start opening up, though, so there might be some news about that. And that reminds me, do I have a pen? I need to make a note about it. It just hits me every now and then that I think this week was the supposed NRA meeting, which a lot of you would have been at, you know, and I would have been there. We'd been doing meet and greets and that kind of thing, you know, with SDI, you know, and with Buds, even sets up there, and of course Federal. We do meet and greets with them at the NRA meetings, and I need to make reservations for next year because you got to make them well in advance. That thing. So that's in Houston, I think, next year. So you know, make your plans after we've all been hibernating so long. You need to plan some trips. Surely we'll be clear, you know, a year from now to just take off and go somewhere like that. Not have too much to worry about. But anyway, what was I getting off on? Yeah, well, I was talking about that. Yeah. What else was I going to mention? Be sure you're keeping up again. By the way, with Second Amendment issues. Like if you're watching this, especially, you're watching most of our videos, hopefully all of them, and mean to talk to you about some of you about missing 1 or 2 here. You're interested in Second Amendment rights, I hope, okay? The Bill of Rights, the entire Bill of Rights, the Constitution. So keep up with what's going on in your state. I just, again, admonish you. They got new people, we got young people, and folks, sometimes young people are not as aware and as active, of course, in those areas, don't understand the issues, maybe don't even know about some of them. But if you are a gun owner, you hope to be a gun owner, you have to be political to a certain extent. You got to keep up with the issues and know what's going on in your state and advocate for the Second Amendment. Vote for the correct people, right? Vote for the people that promote freedom, individual liberty, I hope. And there's lots of, it's not that big a problem to keep up with that. Just follow the news. There are YouTube video makers who specialize in that. They're, Guns and Gadget. Guns and Gadget. Coleon Noir. Okay? Johnny B. And there's others. I'm trying to mention them. They post almost daily about that. All right? They post daily. Sometimes it's just the news that you get, which is what we want, what's going on. And then, like Coleon Noir, there's more of a global approach, and he may throw a lot of creativity into it, and puts up stuff the stupid stuff people say, comments on that, and does a great job with that. But they all do their own thing. There's no excuse for not knowing what's going on, is what I'm getting at. Okay, no excuse. We get folks, as I've told you before, all the time. Somebody from, I don't know, it could be Montana, you gonna do a video? Would you do a video on this law our crazy legislatures have proposed and from every state, and this is whatever's going on? And that's not what we do, really. We try to keep you aware of that. But there's people who go into those specifics, and that's what they do, right? We could quit shooting videos and gun videos, essentially, and be a news outlet, but we really don't want to do that. There are lots of people doing that. So, and you shouldn't even need that if you're keeping up, okay? Just keep up with what's going on nationally and in your state, all right? So that's my little rant, my little suggestion, because it's important stuff. And then make sure you're voting, right? Not just today, not just next month, every year that you're alive, okay? Keep up with this stuff and be politically active. That's the only way that it looks like we're going to be able to protect the Bill of Rights. All right, so it's always under fire. If you're brand new to firearms, brand new to even thinking about this sort of thing, your freedom is always under assault. It's just that simple. Okay, so take my word for it. What else was I going to talk about? Let's see. Oh gosh! Oh, did you see the videos? Some of the videos we've done recently, the Caliber Warriors that I posted last week, this week. I was so far pretty well pleased that I didn't get hammered too badly, on that. Because anytime you get into that business, that kind of discussion about the best caliber and that kind of thing, oh my gosh, there are probably more battles within the firearms world, at least historically. Now, there's a lot of battles now, social media, just idiots, just trying to be idiots or whatever and be dramatic. But I'm talking about legitimate battles, arguments about firearms issues, okay, in the real world. There's probably as many arguments about that as anything I can think of. The best caliber to carry, or even gun, of course, but the caliber, what cartridge, what chambering, is the most effective and what you should be carrying. That's the one that people have been arguing about probably for a couple hundred years, but I know all my life, people argue about that. And then you realize why there's so many arguments. Think about it, really. Here I go, getting philosophical, overthinking something. But we tend to argue as human beings. You all are human beings. I don't know about me, but we tend to argue about things the most that are the hardest to prove, aren't they? That we may be unprovable, right? Things are just more nebulous. So that's the stuff. Think about it. Politics. Which is better, Republicans or libertarians or Democrats, whatever. That's becoming more and more clear cut, I guess. So, but to people on both sides or all sides. But things that are they're like impossible to prove one way or the other. How do you prove it? You know, it's not like numbers. Yeah, 4 + 4 is 8. You know, you can't say it's 7. Is that right? Where's my calculator? Oh, I've got one on my phone. So things we can't really prove. Yeah, like that, like religion. Yeah, I mean, depending on what religion you adhere to, yeah, I can prove mine. I've got a book or I've got this document. Well, yeah, prove that, prove this. I mean, yeah, I mean, really empirical proof to solve the question to everybody. That everybody, oh yeah, you're right. I see that. So politics, religion, proper bullet choice. Yeah, why is it impossible, essentially, to prove what the best carry round is? Let's say 380, 9mm, 45, 40, 10, whatever you want to go through the list. Why is it impossible to prove, almost? Well, it is, I guess. Well, the same old reason. I mean, how do you prove that? I mean, who has enough experience, like I talked about in that video? You really don't. Because again, I don't like to talk about this stuff too much, but John and I have had this discussion, or I've talked with people. You think about it. In order to, let's take a bear attack, take an animal attack coming at me. I could have a grizzly coming at me. Let's say we're trying to prove whether the 10mm or the 44 Magnum is the better choice in grizzly country or something, as a backup, and then all of a sudden you got to save your life with it. And Mr. Grizz is coming at me. Okay, here he comes. Oh, pull out. I get a time to shoot 3 or 4 or 5 shots at him. All right. So how can I prove which is the better, 44 Magnum or 10mm, for example, or 41 Magnum versus 44 Magnum, or 500 Smith & Wesson versus 44 Magnum, whatever you want to do? Well, in order to even begin to gather some real evidence, right, I would have to have Mr. Grizz, the same Grizz, come at me and me shoot him, say 4 times with a 44 Magnum, get four hits on him, okay, and let's see how he reacts. All right, now let's wake him up, give him some ammonia, wake him up, he's healthy again, if I'm alive, and let's pull out a 10mm. Get him to come at me again with the same energy, same Grizz, same place exactly. And I shoot him 4 times in exactly the same place with a 10mm. I mean, those bullets would have to hit exactly the same place, not even an nth degree off, and see how he reacts. And let's do the same thing. Let's wake him up. Same thing, same energy. Here he comes. I've got a 500 Smith & Wesson. Okay, maybe a 9mm. Test all the rounds I want to, but I've got to hit exactly the same place. And maybe I do it with 1 shot. Maybe I do it with. Then I do it with 1 shot. Yeah, there you go. Then I do it with 3 shots. Then 2 shots. I got to keep waking up poor old Mr. Grizz, and he has to keep getting shot over and over and maintain his level of energy to even begin to gather any useful data, right? I mean, that would have to be the same distance, the exact same scenario, the bullet hitting exactly the same place. I mean, even if it's off that much, there go the scientific study, right? So who has that kind of experience and data with defending yourself against human attackers trying to kill you or something? I mean, it's also, I could tell you 2 stories, and there's a million of them out there, right, where somebody survived, being shot with a .40 caliber. And he got, 3 in the chest, and someone else says, yeah, well, I was a police officer in such and such city, and I saw a guy get hit in the chest with 9mm and 3 in the chest, and man, he went down like a brick. Wow. The other guy, the guy I saw hit 3 in the chest with 40 or 45, he didn't go down at all, Wow, that proves 9's the best. Really? Does it? Phew. Who's the person? What was his motivation to get you? How heavy was he? How much muscle did he have? Where exactly did those bullets hit? Were they exactly in the same place? Did one of them, did the 40 and the 9, two different people, just nip their heart? Right? I don't have to explain all that to you. There's no way to get scientific evidence on that. So we get to argue about it. Right? We get to argue about it. Like I said in the video, bigger obviously is generally better. You can't argue with that. Otherwise, there'd be no need for a 50 cal, right? So anyway, I really appreciated people in the comments so far. They've been pretty sane, you know. Didn't bring on all the caliber warriors like I was afraid I might do. And I'm going to load this up. You know what I'm not, though? I was expecting the termite inspector, and guess what? He just drove up. And so I'm going to run over, make sure he inspects the place, don't steal any of my federal ammo out of the basement, and I'll be back, okay? I promise you I'll be back. I'm going to get my four-wheeler and run over there, and I'll be right back. Guess what? I'm back, and I'm going to shoot a little bit more. Is that okay? Yeah. Let's try to hit the gong again. Didn't I hit it once? Yeah, I think I did. All right, nice sound. I love it. Quick. Yeah, I got a little on my finger there. All right, there's an incoming call. When you know about time we get started. This will be, hello. Junk call. I get calls all the time. There's people trying to call and I never answer. Occasionally, about once a week, I might answer it, you know, because I just, for whatever reason, for fun, so I know who to block. But that's the way it goes. Yeah, I'm back. It's great doing these over here because I can see if someone pulls into the driveway. It's about, whatever, 300 yards away or something, but not that far. I can see and keep track, so I can lob around over there if I need to, or run over there or whatever. But yeah, get back. I hate to cut the video, and you're not gonna believe I came back and started talking to you and didn't hit record, so I don't have a brain and realized that. But but anyway, I don't like to we don't like to edit the videos much. Now we do, so if that's the intention, yeah, fine. John's really good at that. I can do a little of it, but like putting things together and making a montage or something, which we don't do as much of, I guess, as we ought to. But he's a master at that kind of thing. But in just a general video, you know how we do things. We don't like to cut it anywhere. Just partly in the interest of just being totally transparent, and then we just like to operate that way. You know, I'm always glad when John will cough. That's about the only, I don't know if I've ever had a bad cough or for some reason I needed to cut it maybe once. And sometimes Johnny gets allergies during the spring. Has a hard time with all the pollen and stuff, so he may cough, you know, or start having a cough attack and have to edit, you know. So you've seen that happen a few times, but we don't like to do that unless it's really necessary. You know, sure as the world, somebody thinks we're trying to hide something. Oh my God, that gun it malfunctioned, and they just cut it. They cut it out, right? I knew it. He's getting paid by Taurus, getting paid by Glock or whoever it might be. So we've always gone out of the way to avoid that. You know, I don't know. It's just since we don't have any kind of covert like sponsorship, you know, secret stuff going on. Never have. We just like to make it clear, you know, what we're doing. You know who our supporters are, you know, very clearly. You can name them. Some of them have been around a while. You can name them, right? Because we name them, and so you know that. And, you don't know the specific what they do for us maybe, but you know who they are. So there's really nothing else. There's nothing hitting like that. There's still people think I'm getting checks from Glock or whoever, and I don't know. They just never get to me. Those bank transfers or those checks or however they're sending them, they I don't know. They're not getting to the right bank or to the right name or to the right mailing address. I don't know what the deal is with that. So anyway, funny. What was I talking about? Do you remember? You better. Of course, for you, it wasn't as long ago, right? It was a matter of seconds. For me, it was about 30 minutes, okay, that I was gone. The lighting's a little bit better, so that's good. But I've talked almost long enough, so I won't keep you much longer. One of the other things about the caliber wars I was going to mention is one thing I've heard people say a number of times or see comments or whatever. You've probably heard people say this before. So they don't mean anything by it. They're just not thinking about it. But they say, well, I've carried the 40 for 20 years. It served me well. Or I've carried the 45 or the 9mm done fine for me. Or I've carried the 9 or whatever. Whatever they do. Or same about a gun. Well, okay, that's good. How many shootouts have you been in? I was talking about earlier about the grizzly bear example, attacking or whatever. I think that was in the first segment, right? But, nobody has enough experience to be really, an expert in this stuff much, so it's just like I think I was saying that, the things we argue about the most are like politics, religion, caliber, the proper bullet, and all that. Why do we argue about those things so much? Why is there so much debate about it? Why are we always fighting over these things? It's because they can't be proved one way or the other, right? So those are the things we like to argue about and get mad about, and just really mad enough to literally fight over it, right? Through history, that has happened, right? So anyway, it's a funny thing. And people talk about how shot placement is the most important thing. And that's pretty much it. That is pretty much true, isn't it? Like my discussion of that in the video, unless you're getting a central nervous system, there's that almost assures a stop, right? But maybe not, but that's the closest thing you're going to get to it. I'm talking an immediate stop, right? It's just has happened. You see stories all the time about people, whether it's a cop or a soldier or whatever, they're being shot. They're after some altercation thing. They didn't even realize they were shot, and the adrenaline's going and everything, and they didn't know they were shot. They're looking down. I think, and you soldiers tell me, but if you're in some firefight or whatever's going on, and man, it's a serious business, and the adrenaline's flying, you're moving, and everything's going on. And when it calms down, you get a chance to kind of check yourself and really. I think it's true that you're probably checking yourself, making sure you're not bleeding anywhere, right? Because you're falling around maybe on rocks and you're moving and everything, and you could actually take a round, maybe not know it. You might take one, you're dead, but you might take one, a flesh wound or something, and you're bleeding. You don't even see it or feel it in the heat of the battle, that kind of thing. So. But anyway, nobody has an inordinate amount of experience in that, hardly enough to be the ultimate expert, right? And then, of course, what you have to watch is someone who has had a little experience in it and think they're the ultimate expert based on their anecdotal experience. So but accuracy is so key in that. The word that hits me the wrong way when I see people, and I know what they mean when they say shot placement is everything, is shot placement to me connotes, okay, shot placement. Clear this thing, empties. Shot placement, all right, yeah, a precision shot. That's what I think of. It just kind of implies that to me, shot placement. Well, you're trying for that, but oh man, it's going to come, boom, 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 drop the gun, boom, boom, on the table. It happens fast, and shot placement, it's not exactly target shooting, is it? But what people do mean, and what of course the real situation is, an accurate shot, boom, where it needs to go. Okay, accurate shot where it needs to go, and not shooting too quickly, just throwing lead. That's why having 15 rounds is not necessarily an advantage. The first shot, boom, being put where it needs to go is the most important. And so shot placement is true. I just still, it's still rings of target shooting, you know what I mean? So it always hits my ears the wrong way. But that's what it comes down to. And that's the point I was trying to make in that video, that careful shot that needs to go where it needs to go. It doesn't matter as much whether it's a 9 or a 40 or a 45, because unless it goes where it needs to go, it may not get the job done. So anyway, that was an interesting video. I haven't caught too much grief, or disagreement on it, because for one thing, I tend not to make wild claims, outlandish claims, because I have no experience. I just, based on what I read, what I know, what people have told me, and common sense, I've got a little bit of that. One thing I was going to talk about is the bug that's going around. I made a comment about kind of letting younger people go back to work. People are not at risk, and then I'll just take my chances, more or less. So I thought that's what I was talking about. I had a couple of people point out to me how I might be jeopardizing other folks. I might have it, not know it, and be spreading it if I'm out and around or whatever. Well, yeah, that's not really what I meant. I may not be very clear. What I was meaning to get into was, as we open up, or even if we don't open up, looks like we are, this week, really, in Tennessee to some extent. But if we're going to go back to work, one option, as I talked about, was get all the young, healthy people out there working. Anybody that doesn't have a health issue, and then the rest of us will take our chances. Well, it kind of means, I mean, you're taking your chance too. If you're young and you're out there working, going back to work, but then it's my choice as to whether or not I want to take a risk and go out there and mingle with you and get it from you. Okay, it's really what I was thinking about. Wasn't thinking about giving it to you, which of course I could, but you could be getting it from all those other young people you're working with that have it and they're asymptomatic. Okay. So anyway, it looks like we're going to get back to work, and things will be, they won't be normal, but they'll be closer than they have been, right? I was pleased this week to see the emphasis on how humidity and temperature and sunlight, very effective against the bug, and that's cool. That's cool, because guess what we have a lot of around here, Tennessee, in the summer. We have a lot of humidity, we have a lot of heat, a lot of temperature, and we have a lot of sunlight. So that bodes well, I'd say. That bodes well. And you see me in the summer in the videos where my shirt's soaked, and well, that's because it's so humid here most of the time. And I just go ahead and sweat it out. Don't worry about it. Stay outside most of the day. So yeah, it's a good thing, I guess. That's a good thing. So anyway, again, we'll get through it, and it looks like just hopefully we won't have a lot of reoccurrences or hot spots pop up. If we do, we can attack them, and that we can get back to a semblance, of normalcy, and and not all die. Okay, so the numbers are looking better, aren't they? The more people who are tested in various places around the country, the more the death rate drops. Once that denominator gets bigger, because we realize a lot more people had it and were asymptomatic than we knew. I may have told you, I'm not so sure, but that I didn't have it, and my wife, well, I don't know, I didn't really have, I had a couple of weird symptoms, but my wife really had a bad cough in January, really bad, and it was, so we're looking forward to getting that test that will determine whether or not that we have had it, and hopefully we have. And I'll donate some plasma, some blood. I'll get my knife out, and I will, where is it? Where's my spider cut? Yeah. I will cut somewhere, and I'll just bleed into a cup, and I will deliver it to whoever needs it. How's that? So we'll see how all that goes. But anyway, things are looking up right now, and hopefully you'll survive the shutdown and the gradual reopening, depending on where you live. And man, if you're a student, it's been a weird spring, hasn't it? I hate that for a lot of students. You know, there's so many events in the spring, your sports. A lot of you were looking forward, I'm sure, to track, finishing up, I guess, did we finish up basketball? I didn't even finish that up, did we? In a lot of places. And, you know, and track and field and tennis and soccer and all those things that some of you were even to the point where you were planning to maybe play in college and you're vying for a scholarship or something. And of course, at the professional level, you know, playoffs and everything. And hopefully the NBA playoffs will still take place. And hopefully the NFL season will, I don't live and breathe sports, but I do watch some of it and keep up with it to some extent. I'm hoping the NFL can play somehow this year. You know, they get, whether the stadiums are packed is one issue, but most of their revenue comes from, including the players' revenue, I guess, comes from these massive TV contracts, you know, and so, you know, the money is so big because of that. That's why it's always so funny when people complain about sports people making so much money, making too much money. Of course, that's just what some people do. They just bothers them that the guy across the street makes more money than they do, you know. And whenever I see those comments, sometimes you'll see me answering. They'll say, well, so-and-so is rich, or, oh, you have a gun like that, you must be rich, or, you know, whatever it comes up. And I'll say, well, you know what the definition of rich is? That's anybody who makes more than you do. You know, that's kind of the way. And in a lot of ways, anybody uses that word, it shows a certain level of, what do you say, envy? I don't know. It's not a word I've ever used in my life. Even when I was making much less than most of you, I never looked at people, oh, he's rich. I mean, that word just it always hit me kind of weird. It's like I'm admitting my envy. You know, oh, you must be rich. This doesn't sound good to me, you know. But it always hit me the wrong way anyway. It's hit me as a judgmental term, okay? Not a very complimentary term. You know, a good friend of mine or my neighbor that I hang out with and like or something maybe is worth $20 million or something, or has been a physician for his entire life, a surgeon, a brain surgeon or something, and is very wealthy. I'm more likely to refer to him as this being really wealthy. The word rich just seems like a negative judgmental term that is, I don't know, it seems to stem from some envy on my part. Am I wrong? Is that anybody else? Does it hit other people that way? I don't know. It doesn't hit some people that way, I know, because they just live in envy. But how to get off on that? What was I talking about? But anyway, I don't know where I was going. Who knows? But as far as the bug and everything, hopefully that you'll be getting out and life will return. I know what I was talking about. I lost track of where I was talking. I had to move around and cut the thing and come back. I was talking about those athletes that make so much money that people envy and complain about what they make. I remember back when, I usually circle back to where I was. I just sort of forget for a minute. I remember when Pete Rose signed a big contract. He left Cincinnati and went to Pittsburgh. And I want to say 400,000. That's the number. I might be wrong. You baseball fans might remember. But I was living in the Cincinnati area. I used to go see him play. So I just remembered that I think he signed for 400,000, and that would have been when 1980 or something. I don't know, early 80s. And oh my gosh, the whole sports world. I guess that was like one of the biggest contracts that ever at the time or something for a sports figure. And there was so much talk. This is even before social media and the internet about how he wasn't worth that. He was a baseball player. Who's worth that kind of money? All that sort of thing. Well, I guess Pete Rose was worth that kind of money. Why? Because they paid him that amount of money to come and play, and they are a business, so they decided he was worth that. You know, I mean, some people have no common sense. They just reveal their envy. What they're really saying is, I can't make that kind of money. so it's not fair. He's not worth it if I'm not worth it. Well, learn to hit a baseball like that and you will be worth it to somebody, right? So, I don't know. It just seems odd to me. People worry so much about what other people are doing. If they worry a little bit more about themselves and getting their own house in order, doing something productive, useful themselves, they wouldn't have to worry about other people so much. Hey, how's that for a plan? How's that for a plan? Well, anyway, I've rambled today more than ever, probably off 14 different topics. Let me wrap up by just young people, stay on top of things, and you've learned a lot this spring. You've had to be flexible. Most of us have been around a while. We've seen things come and go and weird things happen. This might be the most traumatic thing that's ever happened to you, but you've lived through it. You learned what you needed to learn this spring semester if you're still in school, and you'll get through it. Whatever, it'll be a year you'll remember. You'll have a chance to get with your classmates, I'm sure, and maybe you can have an earlier reunion or something like this summer. Have a big party, go to the beach. I don't know. We'll figure it all out. Things could have been worse. A lot worse. And it's not over, but things could be worse. And again, I hope you're staying politically active. You're keeping up with what's going on in your state. And I mentioned earlier some of the YouTube video makers that doing a great job keeping everybody abreast of what all the Second Amendment issues are, where all the attacks are coming from. So, you should know in your state who to contact and who to write to and who to call, and just make your beliefs known. That's really what it comes down to. Stay aware of what's going on, make your beliefs known, You just have to do that. It doesn't matter what's going on, whether there's a crisis or not, whether there's some serious gun ban in the works, like the one coming out of Georgia. You should just always be aware of all that. You shouldn't even need a YouTuber to tell you about it. You should be aware of it, okay? And but on social media and the internet, there's no way you're not aware of what's going on if you're halfway alert, right? So stay active, and this is a time during a crisis when those politicians who want total control like to take advantage of the situation, right? Because you don't want to ever let a crisis come along and not take advantage of that, right? Get more control of the people, or if your agenda includes gun control, an opportunity, and we've seen that happen, haven't we? So got to stay vigilant and stay alert your entire life on these issues, okay? I'm glad you're interested in firearms. And hopefully all of us can help you with that through the videos. There's so many good videos out there made by a lot of people. I'm talking too much. And you can learn what you need about the firearms, but you also need to learn what you can. Shut up. My timer went off, so I got to shut up. Get my phone turned off. Come on. How do you shut off the timer? Okay. I don't use the stopwatch much, the timer, hardly ever. And I thought, well, I'll set that thing, and keep me from going 3 hours at least. But anyway, stay active. And like I say, there's two things to think of, two wheels here, things you're learning in the process if you're in this hobby and this endeavor of firearms. And I call it a lot of things. It's a hobby, it's an endeavor, it's a movement. It's all those things. It's, supporting the Bill of Rights. It's being an American. It's just everything. Being free. But it's all those things. So you got all that. You're learning about the firearms of one wheel and safety and all the cool firearms, the historical firearms you see here and elsewhere, and new firearms, and all that going on, making decisions about firearms you want to purchase, and people are making videos showing you how to shoot better, more so than I do, and that kind of thing, instructional things. But you've got that other wheel with how to maintain your freedom, in the Bill of Rights, keeping it protected, because as sad as it is, there's a big number of people, large number of people in this country that they just don't believe in the Bill of Rights, especially the Second Amendment. They really don't. They interpret it totally differently, and they see no use for it, and they would love to subvert it. It's just that simple, and it's so clear cut. The beauty now is it's more and more clear which politicians feel that way. So you make sure you're going into the voting booth for one thing. That's step one. Make sure you're registered and you're going into that voting booth. And then also make sure you know who you're voting for and what their platform is and what their stand is on the Second Amendment. And remember, it's easy for them to say, well, I'm for the Second Amendment. You know, hunting has been a tradition in this country forever. Yeah, right. Well, the Second Amendment's not about hunting. So read between the lines, find out what they actually believe, what they voted for in the past, and pin them down, okay? Because it's not about, the Second Amendment is not about hunting, right? So, I mean, you know what it's about. It's about having the wherewithal to be in charge of our government, which we are, we the people, okay? Not those people in Washington or at the State House in your state. We are their bosses, all right? And if they get too tyrannical, you know, we have the power to oust them, okay? And if we don't have the Second Amendment, we don't really have the power to oust them, okay? So just be aware of that. Throw them out if we need to. So you guys have a great week. I'll talk to you next week. And I feel like I've been all over the place this week, but that's kind of what it's about. Just come out in the woods and talk to you, take a few shots with a favorite firearm, and I just enjoy life. That's what I do as much as possible. Hey, I've earned the right to enjoy life. I've lived a long time, you know, almost 7 decades. So, you know, I should be able to have some fun. Is that all right? So if I am crazy enough to want to build a shooting range on my place, if I'm crazy enough to come over here into the woods and set up a camera and talk to the trees, I should be able to do that, don't you think? I mean, there's a lot of crazy people around, crazier than I am, crazy in a lot of ways, you know. So this might be crazy, but, you know, evidence has shown that there are actually people on the other side of the lens watching and listening. And so, yeah, I keep doing it. So, like I said, I'm crazy. Nothing I say makes sense, does it? Now, it's good to talk to you, and I'll take a few more shots, and I'm going to head on back to the house. And John and my handsome grandson is showing up. Yeah, you know, Davy of the Davy Colts is showing up, and I'm going to hassle him a little bit. That's one of the primary jobs of a grandparent. Hassle your grandkids, right? Joke them, right? Dad jokes, granddad jokes. You know, he's almost 4 now, so he's getting old enough where I can pick on him a little bit, you know, tease him a little bit. They gotta be careful. That was a frustrating thing, you know, with a 2-year. You got a grandson, and knowing me the way I am, ask any of my students, former students, to have a youngster around and not be able to really tease them properly, right? Because, you know, when they're 2 years old, they don't get it. So if you make a joke about certain things, you say things, they take it literally, and they don't know you're kidding with them. So you don't want to do that, you know. You know, you say something like, I don't know, even what's wrong with your foot, guy? You got 7 toes on that foot or something, you know. I mean, they don't get it as a joke, you know, right away. And so you have to be careful. Even I have my limits. And so, but now he's at 4 years old, so yeah, he understands, you know, when you're joking, that kind of thing. So when he gets to be 5 or 6 or 7, man, no hope for him, no hope. I'll be relentless. So anyway, I'm looking forward to seeing him, and hope y'all have a good week. I'll shut up, okay? So keep an eye out for videos. Thursday is, I think, the end of the April, but, you know, it's not the end of videos coming your way. Firearms videos, all right? Like I say, 3 or 4 a week, and I'll see you next Sunday. It's been great talking to you, and you make sure you behave yourself this week. Get a gun out, shoot it, clean it. Do something worthwhile. Life is good.